is poppin', y'all? It is man, Cloudboy Bales, and welcome to another episode of Wisco Sports Weekly. Obviously, I haven't really touched on what I've been obviously seeing recently with the Packers free agency. And as it looks like, obviously this video, as I said before, I'm going to make my video going into the draft. We are just over a month away from the big old day. Obviously, lots to really uncover, but obviously today's video I will be going over my top 5 position needs for this year's NFL draft. If you like what you see, comment below, subscribe with your thoughts. Let's get down to business. Obviously, in the recency days, the Packers, they signed Xavier McKinney. They signed Josh Jacobs. Those were pretty much the big signings. They've let go of some big-name people. Aaron Jones, Devondre Campbell, David Bakhtiari. And obviously, they've re-signed some younger guys, like Emmanuel Wilson, Caleb Jones, Daniel Wheeland, Christian Welch. And then also A.J. Dillon decided to come back as well. You know what? The Packers did a fairly good job this offseason, and I feel like there are some positions that I feel like could need to be filled in this year's draft. So, obviously, I'll count from my 5 to 1. Obviously, 5, I think, important but least, but then the 1 is obviously the most important position that they need to really address in the draft, especially this year. And still, they could address it in free agency, but it is very important regardless of any situation. At the number 5 spot, we'll go with running back. Now, running back was a lot higher on my list, but obviously, re-signing Dillon makes this a little bit less of a concern. Josh Jacobs was signed to a 4-year deal. Kind of looks like, he could opt out of any of those deals. We could probably only have him for maybe 2 years, but it's a smart deal. An all-around running back to have a guy like Josh Jacobs on your team is smart. You also got A.J. Dillon, who you brought back for 1 year. You tendered Emmanuel Wilson. And that's 3 guys that are known for power. But obviously, they got to go for someone who's quick. Maybe a third down guy, a scat back. Anything could happen, but you also need a running back of the future. Josh Jacobs is there. A.J. Dillon might not re-sign again next year. So, honestly, you got to go after a running back regardless in this draft to be a future draft pick. There are some names that this isn't the greatest draft when it comes to running backs, but it's a real deal situation. And I would totally go after a running back maybe in the 3rd or 4th round. At the number 4th spot, I think the next important position is linebacker. Inside linebacker. Inside linebacker, I think is good. I think they need to re-sign Eric Wilson. I think they should do that. They already re-signed Christian Welch. Those would be the backup roles. But also, right now, we cut Devondre Campbell. Our linebacking core are the 2 leading tacklers on the team this season, Quay Walker and Isaiah McDuffie. Those both, when healthy, can really provide a stagnant offense. But the Packers need to find an inside linebacker that will definitely take over for the future. Obviously, Isaiah McDuffie has 1 year left on his contract. Obviously, Quay 2 years, but you still got to find your linebacker of the future. Edgerrin Cooper, Trotter from out of Clemson, Colston out of Michigan. Those are some names that definitely could be guys that you could take in the 2nd and the 3rd round. Obviously, they have 2 picks in both of those rounds. So absolutely, an inside linebacker is a huge, huge deal for the Packers. They need someone that can really be, who has young, but has, potential to be that great player. At the number 3 spot, I will go with defensive line. Now, I know you're thinking, what are you talking about? I think we're good on the defensive line. I mean, we got Kenny Clark, we got Darrell Slayton, we got Devontae Wyatt, we got Carl Brooks and Colby Wooden. I'd say we are actually very good at the defensive line right now. But Kenny Clark is a free agent after next year. I suggested in an earlier video that they extend him. maybe about 2 or 3 years. That way they could try to save money on cap space. But that's the thing. Kenny Clark is the big name free agent that could go into 2025 if they do not sign an extension. The Packers could, if a defensive tackle is available, they could draft one, and that would actually show intention that they are moving on from Kenny Clark in the future. It's very possible. Do I think they need to draft one anyways? Absolutely. Could they go for someone in the first round? Absolutely. But it's very important that they could address that position, because obviously it all has to come down to what they do with Kenny Clark. At the number 2 spot, I'll say offensive line. Obviously, they cut David Bakhtiari. Right now, our starting tackles are Rasheed Walker and Zach Tom. John Runyon signed with the Giants. Then, right now, our starting guards are Jenkins and Ryan, with also Royce Newman as a backup. Right now, our center is Josh Myers, and he's the only center on the team. They need to really draft a lot of linemen in here. First off, they could go, there's some great name tackles. I feel like all those big name tackles that are going in the first round are already going to be gone before they go to the Packers, so I think they're going to draft something else. But offensive linemen, I mean, hopefully if Zach Frazier is available, the Packers can take him. He's a center. I think you could find the guy, and you can obviously play guard too. Or Tanner Bortolini out of Wisconsin's even a name you could even consider. But you got to get some tackles and guards and centers. You got to actually really take a lot of linemen in this draft for the future. I think it's important because I think they're going to move on from Myers, and you got to find those guys that can really be those glue guys, I think that, they'll find a guy, and then Royce Newman's going to finally be cut, thank the Lord. But, anything will happen. I really think that they need to address the line. It's very important going into this year. And then finally at number 1, I feel like it's the most obvious position, safety. Yes, they signed Xavier McKinney, but they lost all 3 other safeties that were their starters. Darnell Savage signed with the Jaguars. Jonathan Owens signed with the Bears. Rudy Ford, still a free agent, but pretty much was benched at some point during the season, so pretty much they don't really have any safeties. I mean, Zane Anderson and Anthony Johnson was a free agent and a 7th-round pick, and right now they would be the other starting safeties. They have to I would say they need to sign someone. They need to sign some safeties unless they're really confident with who they have, but I doubt it. Safeties or maybe corners. Hybrid safeties, hybrid corners, slot corners that could put at safety. Someone that knows how to play the safety position. Doesn't matter who it is or what it is, but as long as they can play the safety position, that's what matters. Because Xavier McKinney's doing his thing, but we need another guy who's young doing his thing. So that's that. So if you like what you see, subscribe below, comment with your thoughts. And as always, more to come. We will see you next time.